Now, this is more than super fascinating. Because if we're to believe the media, then we now have a split in Azimio that puts former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is still chair of the coalition, and Raila Amolo Odinga, the leader, on different sides. And as far as Kenyans are concerned, according to these media reports, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, Martha Karua, Eugene Wamalwa are on the good guys' side, while Raila Amolo Odinga and most probably Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka are on the side of the bad guys. Why? Because after weeks and weeks of deliberations, inviting people to the Bomas, etc., etc., the final report still does not emphasize the two major key issues that caused Kenyans to go to the streets in the first place. And of course, when Kenyans went to the streets, these talks came in to pull off Kenyans from the streets, and so that the country may have peace, and so that the business people who are complaining that Azimio is messing up with their businesses could go back to their businesses and making money. Okay? Of course, now the situation has changed. It appears many of those business people are not busy anymore making money. And those two major, very important, critical issues were, if I need to remind you, cost of living. That's the first one. And the second one, opening the servers to reveal the results of the 2022 presidential elections, which, by the way, is a legal requirement. Actually, it should not need negotiations. How do you negotiate on a law of the land? Something which is already there. It is like somebody commits murder, and then bi-partisan talks are called to negotiate and discuss whether this person should be exposed and prosecuted or not. That is really what it is. It is so crazy, I don't even want to think about it. Bila kizungu mingi, those two very critical, very important issues are not addressed enough in the final document. And this story gets even more interesting because William Ruto approves, has pledged, has promised to implement it in full. Yeah, he has said it is okay and is going to implement it, which should be a red flag or red lights flashing in case you miss the flag. And so it appears, if we're to believe these reports, that Ruto is on the same side as Raila, and possibly Kalonzo Musyoka. What's going on here? What is happening? People are puzzled, extremely puzzled, and very worried. Well, I'm going to surprise you. The explanation is very, very simple. So simple that when you have taken it in, you will kick yourself where you did not see it. But first, I am very grateful to our sponsors today, which is a quarter acre for sale in the Lower Kabete area, close to New Kitsuru Estate. Hapo ndo wadosi wa Kenya huishi. New Kitsuru Estate. And this particular quarter acre is very much adjacent, and right next to the tarmac road to Nairobi. Of course, this is in Kiambu, which is right next to the capital city of the country called Kenya. And I want to believe the most impressive capital city in the entire region, Nairobi. The place of cool waters is the meaning of Nairobi. It's a Maasai name. You can see details on your screens right now, as well as the photographs. Very impressive. And the telephone number you need to call to secure yourself this prime plot very close to Nairobi. Okay. The owner is asking for 25 million Kenya shillings. And maybe some of us will be surprised when you convert this amount into US dollars, meaning that it may be quite a steal for those who deal in US dollars. I'm sure you know what I mean. And this is the property of yet another Kumekuchan. People who have been on this channel for a long time. People who have supported Kumekucha Chris for a very long time. And therefore one has to assume that we think the same. Birds of a feather flock together, we were told a long time ago. And so if this is what you've been looking for, or if you sense this is a great opportunity for you, please go for it. Okay? Lower Kabete area, neighboring New Kitsuru. Now, to understand what is going on in Kenya at the moment concerning this report that has been produced after weeks and weeks at the Bomas, please allow me to illustrate the precise situation to you with a tactical story. You have a soccer team, and this soccer team has a deadly striker. This person can score from an impossible situation. You give him half a chance, a quarter of a chance, even a tenth of a chance. You put him in a very unlikely position to score. He will score. You will definitely end up with the net shaking from the impact of the ball fired in violently. Okay? And so, because it's a competitive sport, what do you expect? This man will always be very heavily marked. There will always be opponents looking to injure him, get him carried off the field. There will even be players fielded sometimes, believe it or not, with strict instructions from the coach. Your work is to go in there and make sure that man is carried off on a stretcher. There is nothing else I want you to do on that pitch. Just make sure that striker is carried off the pitch on a stretcher, not walking. Those are your instructions. Don't worry about being suspended. We'll sort that out. Just make sure you do that for me. Okay? Yeah, get on. So as a coach, how will you respond? It is really very easy. You get your striker out of danger to himself. It's very simple. And so at every instance, you use your striker as a decoy. One of his teammates gets the ball. This striker runs into the penalty area, taking at least 2-3 defenders with him. Then he changes direction and runs a bit away from the penalty area. 2 or 3 defenders will follow him without thinking. And in the process, you'll create a lot of space for another player in the team to score. And so the ball is crossed over into the goal area. And meanwhile, your most dangerous striker is at the edge of the goalpost with 2 or 3 defenders giving him very close attention. including the one who has come in to make sure he's carried off on a stretcher. Yeah, but of course he has to get the ball fast or be close to the ball before this guy vunjas him. Okay? And so when the cross comes over, there are at least two players in a very good position to score, and one of them scores. This is what is happening as we get very confused, with some of us asking, what is wrong with Raila? I can imagine in that example I've just given you, people who are not very familiar with the game will ask, what is wrong with our best striker? He's in the wrong position. What is he doing? He must be off form. He must be out of his mind. What is he doing standing there? And they will continue complaining even after the goal has been scored. What? Our favorite striker should have scored. He is the one who should have been there to meet the cross and score, because his goals are very spectacular. Now that one was a boring goal, but guess what? It still counts. And that's the most important thing. Now, it is important that we do not make the same mistake with former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta that Ruto made. What mistake is this? Ruto greatly underestimated Uhuru. Yeah. And I have an idea why. You remember, Ruto and Gachagua told us they don't drink. And they told us they don't smoke. Hata ile sigara kubwa. They don't smoke. They don't smoke Wanjakoya stuff, if you know what I mean. What were they implying? Who were they referring to? I think it is rather obvious. And therefore Ruto assumed that the presidency is very easy. Easy come and easy. Grade 2 stuff. If this man who does all these things, allegedly, anakunywa sana, yeah, can manage to keep things in Kenya sane, I, William Ruto, who do not do these things, will just do magic. The economy will take off. The Kenya shilling will strengthen up to 120 shillings, we were told. Maybe in his mind he even imagined and dreamed that he would strengthen it to 7 Kenya shillings to the dollar. By the way, that was the exchange rate when I was growing up. For a long time, in the 70s, late 70s, even early 80s I believe. May I remind you of your school days? I'm sure you also experienced this. There are those guys who never used to read. They're always out playing games, they're always out doing this and that extracurricular activities. They take very little time to read. And the exams are just around the corner. But when the results come out, those people who are reading 24/7, stuck in books the whole time, are shocked. Because these guys who are fooling around are top of the class, top marks. And some of these guys who are reading all the time have failed. Wameanguka mtihani. You know, that is a lesson of life. Because even in business, some people appear to be doing so well, and the businesses they are doing appear to be very simple. That guy is running 2 matatus. He counts money every day, and therefore you rush to your sacco and you buy 2 matatus. Hey, utajua ujui. You quickly find out that you have to be a master of human nature to do well in matatus, a business which looks so simple. You have to be able to read the minds of your manamba and your driver, yeah, to minimize the stealing from you. Otherwise you'll be in a situation where you'll buy some matatus and then quickly find yourself in a situation where instead of prospering, you're out of cash. And then 2-3 weeks later, you hear that your former driver, after your business has collapsed, has bought a new matatu. Guess where he got his money from? He didn't take a loan. It is your money. It is a lesson of life. Never ever underestimate other people. Indeed, those ones, somebody thought that running a channel like this one is so easy. They even completely underestimated my intelligence and called me to help them promote their videos. Guess what I did? I aggressively promoted their videos. Guess what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. Those videos went nowhere. Never underestimate what somebody's doing. So I don't want you to make that mistake with President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, former president, who is now a hero to most Kenyans. And it appears that he is now the main strike of Azimio. However, hold your horses. He is not going to come out aggressively in public meetings and be the new Raila. No, he can't. He's a former president. However, he's going to be in the striking position using a devastating strategy. Okay? Let me call it the Mandela strategy. For the sake of younger people on this channel, Nelson Mandela was still in prison at Robben Island, and people were using his name to gain massive popularity. People were using his name all over the world to their huge advantage, even to make money. I remember sometime in the 80s, there was a massive Nelson Mandela rally in London, United Kingdom, which was packed. My point is, the man was very politically popular and nobody had seen him. All we had were his old photographs from the 1960s. Here we were in the 80s and he was super popular and still in prison. Because of the blunders of the William Ruto administration, Uhuru has been elevated to that status, where one can gain massive support on the ground just by using his name. Chris Kumekucha comes to a rally, nobody knows him, nobody's cheering him, and Chris Kumekucha starts by saying, nawaletea salamu kutoka Uhuru Kenyatta. The crowd goes wild. Uhuru Kenyatta is not there. And this confirms something very disturbing about our most deadly striker in Azimio. It seems to confirm all the crazy stories we heard when Azimio one day suddenly out of the blue called off the Mandamanos. You remember that time? And people were disappointed and shocked. Why? Remember that time? People asking, why? We know that Raila is always a step ahead. And yet when the report came out and everybody's commenting about it, you know what Raila tells the press? Give me time. I've not seen it. I want to study it. And yet he has been given minute by minute briefing of the whole process. Raila knows it inside out. But he tells the press, I can't make a comment now. Give me time. And meanwhile we are being told former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has been busy calling at least 2 meetings in Karen to discuss the bipartisan talks and to discuss how to frustrate them, how to stop them, because they were going absolutely nowhere. For those who know Zakayo well, it should have been obvious those talks will go nowhere. And in case you're a slow Kenyan, Zakayo bado alikuwa anaongeza tax. New tax measures were being discussed all the time, even as the talks continue. He was behaving like the talks are not there. They're not happening. They're not relevant to him. They're of no consequence to him. And so we get a leak from one of the most cautious politicians I know in the region, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. We get a leak from his camp about these meetings. That is interesting. And so if you are very disappointed by this development, I have a very simple question to ask you. Do you want Raila to score himself? Or do you want another striker to score? It will still count. And it is very possible that the striker will score is Martha Karua. Very possible. You know, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka does not know Ruto, as well as Raila and Karua know him. And therefore it is possible that he pushed for talks. He really pushed for them. I have diplomatic skills. Let's go into the talks. And Raila in his wisdom said, okay, let's go with Kalonzo. Knowing in his mind that those talks were going nowhere. And knowing in his mind that at a future date, the situation will politically favor Martha Karua and damage Kalonzo Musyoka. Because that seems to be what has happened. If you have not yet seen it, you will see it very soon. And meanwhile, as all these things are going on, Raila positions himself as the new Kalonzo Musyoka. He can't make a decision. Wait, give me time, I read the report. Raila is play acting as the new mtu wa katikati. Kalonzo handlers should take note and they should be careful, because there are some politicians from Ukambani who could very shortly end up being more popular nationally. Yeah, of course less popular in their own Ukambani, but more popular nationally. Na kuambia Wakenya wameamua. And of course the two areas in the country to follow very closely are the Mount Kenya region and, surprise, surprise, the Rift Valley. I will do a video later analyzing what is unfolding in the Rift Valley. Indeed, I've talked about the Rift Valley in my previous videos, but I did not have the attention of many. Chris, what is Chris saying? Hey, mtu wetu syndrome will never die in Kenya. Never. That's what they were saying. They forgot that there's something else that overshadows the mtu wetu syndrome. And that is, let me put it the way my late political lecturer used to put it. Hiyo tumbo politics. When people are hungry, be very afraid. For now, please allow me to give you a very important heads up. At least this information will prove to be valuable to some of us on this channel. This channel reaches a very unique audience. Kenyans in the diaspora, older Kenyans. You know, the channels reach a lot of young people. Yeah, and unfortunately, most young people don't have much purchasing power. But the purchasing power in the views on this channel are huge. And we have proved that. Somebody advertised some land the other day in Naivasha. Within hours of that video going up, it was sold. And we're talking about a double-digit million. And therefore, if you have a product or service that you need to promote, I think you should seriously consider sponsoring a Kumekucha video. Yeah, that means that you get a mention in one of my videos and a lot more to let others know what you're doing. And I'm sure a lot of your potential clients always tune in very regularly to this channel. And therefore it is a fabulous, amazing opportunity for you to reach your audience very cheaply and very effectively. Kindly check in the description area of this video for more details. And then you can also send me an email, and that email address is on your screens right now, or even call directly on that number for more information, because we can't do this for everybody and we do not produce that many videos. Yeah, therefore I suggest that you take action immediately so that you don't lose this golden opportunity. Now there's one of us, a subscriber, who has come up with a very interesting offer. They're going to sponsor 2 people to take advantage of our latest offer. All you have to do is pay half the price and they'll pay the other half for you. Of course, it is on a first come, first served basis. So please rush. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.